Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope your day and your week are off to a fantastic start. Got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day and a new week comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 6 player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's NBA slate. But first, before I dive into today's picks, we got to do a quick little recap of how we did last week. And overall, guys, a pretty solid start to the NBA season for us here on the NBA Player Prop video series. The last video I did was on Saturday. I don't do videos on Sundays. Our last video on Saturday went 3-3 plus 0.10 units. Not too great, not too bad though at all. We still technically cashed. Wasn't a big cash, but a cash nonetheless. Overall, last week went 18-14 plus 1.54 units. So a really solid start to the season on our single bets last week. We were pretty solid across the board. We did go 0-2 on parlays handed out last week, but guys, parlays are always a tough business to get into, so don't take that record too seriously. All it takes is one parlay, and you can win 5+ units back in one parlay. So yeah, the parlay part of it doesn't look great, but guys, we're going to hit some parlays this year. That I can promise you. But overall, a solid start to the NBA season. Let's see if we can't go ahead and build on that this week. 6 player props coming your way right now. Jumping right into the Outlier screen, guys. Shout out to Outlier, the best sports betting tool on the market and the sponsor of today's video. If you watched any of my videos before, I use Outlier in every single video to break down the data, to give you guys insight, patterns, all that good stuff. All of it comes from Outlier, and I'm only giving you guys the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Outlier. It consolidates all the data, all the information that you need to make smart sports betting choices, and puts it in one and easy, convenient place. It's really awesome, guys. Again, if you stick around, watch today's video, watch any of my other videos, you know what Outlier can do for you. We do have a special offer down below in the description. Use the link down below and get a 7-day free trial to check it out for yourself. No cost involved, no risk involved. You try it for 7 days, you don't like it, you cancel it, and it's no cost to you at all. But you do like it, you say subscribe, $19.99 a month, and if you're making smart sports betting choices, it should technically pay for itself. So make sure to not miss out on that offer, guys. Go check it out in the link in the description below. 7-day free trial, when you use that link. Especially in the Outlier for sponsoring today's video. All right, guys, starting off our first prop in today's slate. We're targeting the Boston Celtics Milwaukee Bucks game, 7:30 p.m. tip-off. We're going Brook Lopez of the Milwaukee Bucks over 14.5 points plus rebounds. Again, guys, we are still early in this new NBA season, so a lot of the data we have is still coming off of last year's data. We do have a few games now to look at for this season, but overall, most of the data, most of the information from here is coming from last season. So far in this NBA season, 3 games played for Brook Lopez. He's cashed the over in 2 out of those 3 games, 67% hit rate with an average of 16 points plus rebounds per game. And even though Lopez is getting up there in years, he's still playing a lot of minutes. You see at least 29 minutes per game in every single game this year with an average of 31.3 minutes per game so far this season. And the opportunities are there. The rebound chance, he's averaging 9.7 rebound chances per game. And so far in field goal attempts, he's taking about 10 shots per game. The problem right now, he's only shooting 37% from the field. So that will improve as the season goes along, I'm pretty sure. You're going to see him continue to take that high volume of shots, but you're also going to see that percentage hopefully go up in the coming weeks. The head-to-head data is also very solid on this prop. You see 3 of his last 4 meetings with the Boston Celtics, all dating back to last season. He has cashed the over with an average of 21.5 points plus rebounds per game. The only time he didn't cash that versus Boston was back on March 29th of last season. March 20th, He only played 21 minutes in that game versus the Celtics. So you see there, that's probably the reason why that total was cashed pretty low. This is a little data range to show, guys, last year when Brook Lopez played between 28 and 32 minutes, what the numbers look like. A 69% hit rate on the over. 18 out of 26 games last year with Milwaukee, he fell in this data range of minutes. He averaged 16.58 points plus rebounds per game. And versus the Celtics in this data range, only one time last year he had in this data range, still cashed the over 15 points and 5 rebounds. Again, he's playing in that data range so far this year, 29 minutes, and 35 minutes so far this year. We're expecting him to stay somewhere in that range of between 28 and 32 minutes a game. If that's the case, pretty good numbers there. And one last data point to show you guys before we move on to the next player prop here. Last year, without Kristaps Porzingis, the Boston Celtics, word jumble there, guys. Brook Lopez faced off with the Boston Celtics one time last year without Kristaps Porzingis, and in that matchup, pretty good results, 15 points and 6 rebounds in that game. You had Al Horford and Luke Cornett splitting minutes at center. I feel like it's a pretty solid matchup there for Lopez without Porzingis around. So I like the over here. Minus 120 odds on DraftKings as well. Pretty good value. All right, guys, next up, we actually have 2 props coming from this game. We have Cavs, Knicks, 7:30 p.m. tip-off. Our first of 2 props from this game, our second prop overall in today's slate. We're going Jarrett Allen of the Cleveland Cavaliers over 14.5 points. The data across the board, pretty good on this one. So far this year in 3 games played, a 67% hit rate, for Jared Allen. 2 of 3 games this year he's cashed the over, averaging 18 points per game. You see a little bit of an ascension there. 14 points in the first game, 17 points in the second game, and 23 points in the last game against the Washington Wizards. And the head-to-head data is pretty solid as well. A 100% hit rate. The last time he played the Knicks back on March 3rd, he had 18 points in that matchup. And overall last year, a 58% hit rate on the over for Jared Allen, including playoffs. 47 out of 81 games last year, he cashed the over, averaging 16.53 points per game. And although on the right side of the screen, you'll see here the Knicks were 4th last year in the NBA in points allowed to opposing centers, 16.8 points per game. That was when they had a mixture of Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein playing center. Karl-Anthony Towns, as great as he is as an offensive player, is not a very good rim protector, not a very good defensive player. So I like the matchup for Jared Allen versus Karl-Anthony Towns here. Karl-Anthony Towns just doesn't play a ton of defense. I think it's one of the reasons why Minnesota was willing to move on from him. No one will deny that he's a good offensive player, but on the defensive side of things, just not that great. I think Jared Allen can go ahead and take advantage of that matchup there. Give me Jared Allen on the over, 14.5 points. And the value is also pretty good, by the way. Also, guys, minus 105 odds there on DraftKings. It's available on almost every sportsbook for varying odds, but DraftKings minus 105, BetMGM minus 105, pretty good value there. On an over that cash pretty consistently. The data is really good on this one. Next up, guys, our second prop in this game, our third prop overall in today's slate. We're going Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks under 35.5 points plus assists. Now, most people probably think it's crazy to go ahead and bet a Jalen Brunson under. However, last year, the data was still pretty good on this under. A 52% hit rate for Jalen Brunson last year, 47 out of 90 games, including playoffs. He actually cashed the under with an average of 36.1 points plus assists per game. It's just crazy to think because Jalen Brunson last year was so dominant. He almost cashes in points a lot of the time, but actually the under cashed the majority of the time last year. And the rest of the data is pretty solid as well. He's played 2 games so far this year. He's cashed the under in both games for the Knicks this year with an average of 27.5 points plus assists per game. And the head-to-head data against the Cleveland Cavaliers is pretty solid. Now, we're going to ignore this one game here because he literally played less than a minute in this game. So ignore that one here, but it's still a 100% hit rate. The previous 2 matchups, though, unders cash, he's averaging 16.33 points plus assists per game. Again, that is a little misleading because in this game, he technically played. He only played like maybe a minute in this one, and he had obviously no stats put up. But in this game here, 24 points and 4 assists, cash the under, and this one, 19 points and 2 assists. Cleveland's a pretty solid defensive team overall. You see last year, they were top 10 in both points and assists allowed against opposing teams versus point guards in particular, top 10, 9th in points allowed, and 6th in assists allowed. Also, on top of the defensive matchup here, which is obviously very solid for us, you also add into the equation the fact that this Knicks team is still trying to figure things out. There's a lot of new pieces, a lot of big new pieces, and the Knicks are still trying to figure things out. And I think in this process, you're going to see these numbers go down. I think Jalen Brunson, his numbers in general, are going to go down this year anyways. When you add Mikal Bridges and you add Karl-Anthony Towns, it was logical that Brunson's numbers probably weren't going to be as high as it was last year. It's no longer just the Jalen Brunson show anymore. They got a lot of firepower here between Hart and Anunoby and Towns and Bridges. They got a lot of mouths to feed. I just don't think Brunson's numbers are going to be as high this year as they were last year. We're taking advantage of the market here because the market's still putting these lines fairly high for Brunson. These lines are going to start coming down as the season goes along because I don't think he's going to get these high numbers as consistently as he did last year. So give me the under on Jalen Brunson here, 35.5 points plus assists. And the value is good here too, minus 106 on FanDuel. Pretty good value. All right, guys, next up we got Rockets-Spurs, 8 p.m. tip-off. We're going Chris Paul here of the San Antonio Spurs, under 13.5 points plus rebounds. No one will go ahead and deny that CP3 can still pass the rock. His assist numbers have been pretty solid to start the NBA season so far, but when looking at scoring and rebounding, the numbers don't look great. Overall, last year with the Golden State Warriors, again, a very different role, very different team. He had a 53% hit rate on this under with an average of 12.92 points plus rebounds per game last year with Golden State. Again, hard to take a lot of data from last year with Chris Paul because the Warriors, his role with the Warriors is totally different from what he's doing this year in San Antonio. But so far this season, that is pretty good. You see in both games so far this year, for the Spurs, he's cashed the under with an average of 6.5 points plus rebounds per game. Actually, versus the Houston Rockets, the team they played tonight, they just played 2 days ago, and he cashed the under pretty convincingly, just 3 points and 0 rebounds in that game versus Houston. And it's not for a lack of minutes. I mean, he played 26.5 minutes in that game versus Houston, 28.8 minutes in the season opener versus Dallas. What it really comes down to is just not taking a ton of shots. You see 6 shot attempts in the first game versus the Mavericks. He took just 3 shots last game versus Houston. It's just kind of CP3's role within this team. Now, the rebound chances have actually been pretty high. He had 12 rebound chances versus Dallas. It's not reported the data for the rebound chances against Houston. But his role on this Spurs team is not to be a scorer. At this point in his career, he's not really a scorer anyways. He was never really, except the early New Orleans Hornets days, was not really a big scoring guard. He's always been that typical floor general distributor, especially this late in his career. That's what the Spurs brought him in for. They don't need CP3 to take shots. They don't need him to be taking a ton of threes or a ton of field goals or driving to the basket or anything like that. They just need him to run the offense and give Wemby good opportunities to go ahead and score, and the rest of the team as well, but specifically Victor Wembanyama. I just don't see him scoring a lot this year in the matchup. Now, overall, Houston last year, they were okay defensively versus point guards. Bottom 10 in the NBA actually in points allowed, and middle of the road in rebounds allowed to opposing point guards. But again, looking at CP3's role, within the Spurs team, I just don't think he's going to be taking a ton of shots in any of these games this year. I think this under is a pretty good spot. This under will probably go a little bit lower. Like the last prop we talked about, the total will probably dip as the season goes along, as the market adjusts for his role within San Antonio. But just one last data point, look at the head-to-head matchup here versus Houston. Again, the last time they played just a couple days ago, he had 3 points, 0 rebounds. But even last year with Golden State, 2 out of those 3 games with the Warriors, he cashed the under. Only one time last year, back on November 20th, he had 15 points and 6 rebounds in that one. So overall, pretty solid data across the board. Again, he's only played 2 games, but in those 2 games, you're just seeing he's just not taking a ton of shots in those matchups here. And you get it for minus 120 on DraftKings, minus 110 BetMGM. Pretty good value on this one as well. All right, guys, 2 props left here. Our next one coming from the Bulls-Grizzlies game, 8 p.m. tip-off. We're going Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies over 17.5 points plus assists. Now, this line is going to be a little bit lower because Jaren Jackson Jr. is starting the season a little banged up. He's not playing at 100%, so that's why this line is very, very low. And if you don't believe that this line is low, just look at the data from last year. An 82% hit rate on this over, 54 out of 66 games last year for the Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr. cashed this over, averaging 24.85 points plus assists per game. The reason why this line is where its line would not be usually this low, the reason, of course, being that he's not playing 100% here. So far this year, he's played 1 game. His first game back against Orlando. Kind of a tough spot to come back against a really good Magic team. They're very good on the defensive side of things. He had 13 points and 1 assist in that game. And he only played 22 minutes on a bit of a minutes restriction there. So that's one thing to be concerned of in this spot. But Chicago last year really struggled down low. They were bottom 10 in the NBA in points allowed, 23rd actually to power forward, 25.1 points per game, and 15th is allowed. Again, he's not going to cover a lot of assists here. This is more about taking Jaren Jackson Jr. in the points category. And versus centers, the Bulls were a little bit better last year, but still not great. 13th in points allowed, 19th in assists allowed. And looking at Jackson Jr., both of his matchups against Chicago last year, he crushed this number. 31 points plus assists in the first meeting of last year back in January, and 32 points plus assists in the second one back in February. An average of 31.5 points plus assists per game against the Bulls last season. And again, he did play 33 and 32 minutes per game, 32 minutes in the games the last season. He's not going to play that many minutes this time around, but you look at how high those numbers were last year. We don't really need him to play 30 minutes to cash the over here. Even if he plays his 22 to 23 minutes like he did in the last game, he should be all set to go ahead and cash the over here. Again, he only played 22 minutes against the Magic, a tough defensive matchup, and he still got pretty close, 13 points and 1 assist in that matchup. Took 10 shots in that time span, so obviously he's still a very important part of this team. He's going to take a ton of shots. I like the options here for Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he's going to go ahead and cash the over, even with the minutes restriction involved. I think it's a really good prop. And last but not least, guys, our 6th and final prop of today's slate. We're looking at the Lakers-Suns game, 10 p.m. tip-off. We're going Bradley Beal here of the Phoenix Suns over 20.5 points plus assists. By the way, guys, we just crossed the 13-minute mark in today's video. So if you're still watching at this point, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys watching all the way through. Comment 13 down below in the comment section if you're still watching at this point in today's video. I know most of you guys are just coming here for the picks, but I do appreciate those who do stick around and watch through the entire video. We take a lot of time in the research side of things, building the videos up. Not just myself, Evan, Trey, also. We all take a lot of time in making these videos. So we appreciate those who do watch all the way through and support us and watch the videos. It means a lot. It helps the YouTube algorithm, helps us gain more following. So appreciate you guys for watching all the way through. Looking at this Bradley Beal prop, a lot of great data in this one. Obviously, on the defensive matchup side of things, the Lakers overall last year were bottom 10 in both points allowed and assists allowed to opposing teams. Not a very good defensive team. And overall last year, pretty good numbers there for Bradley Beal. A 56% hit rate on this over. 32 out of 57 games last year for the Phoenix Suns. He cashed this over of 20.5 points plus assists with an average of 23.04 points plus assists per game last year for the Suns. And so far this season, off to a pretty solid start, Bradley Beal is. So far in both games, he cashed the over, averaging 24.5 points plus assists per game. In the first game, he pretty much did it all in scoring. In the second game, though, we saw a lot of passing. Kind of unusual for Bradley Beal. 9 assists in that last game, which, by the way, was against the Los Angeles Lakers. So that's the good thing here. We have a recent data point against the Lakers literally just a couple days ago to go off of here. And the head-to-head data, again, that includes the other night's matchup versus the Lakers. A 100% hit rate in each of their last 3 meetings dating back to last season. Beal has had some pretty solid performances against the Lakers, including last January. We had 37 points and 4 assists in that matchup versus the Lakers. An average of 30.33 points plus assists per game. Really good numbers across the board here. Not a very good defensive team. Bradley Beal, he's kind of figured out his role. It took a little bit of time, but I think Bradley Beal has finally settled into his role here in Phoenix. I just like the spot. He already cashed it once this year against the same Lakers team literally just 3 days ago. I don't see why he can't go ahead and do it again. Again, he had a lot of assists last time. Look at the shots there. He took 14 shots in that game the other night. He shot 6 for 14, 43% shooting from the floor. He took 12 shots in the first game. So you know he's going to shoot in that range of around 12 to 15, 16 shots per game. He's going to get his shots up, that's for sure, when it comes to Bradley Beal. He only shot 43% from the floor. Now, he did shoot an impressive 67%, in the season opener versus the Clippers. If he shoots somewhere in that ballpark range, he should be good to go. And as long as he trickles in a few assists here and there, I don't necessarily think he's going to get 9 assists again. But if he does it again or gets some, 3, 4, just throws a couple assists in there to match his points, I think we should be good to go. And again, guys, like the rest of the props in this slate, really good value. -110 here on DraftKings, -115 on FanDuel. No really juiced odds in this video. All of the props have been like -120 or lower. Pretty decent value on all the props today. So, guys, that does it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, guys, please make sure to go ahead and drop a comment down below, leave a like, and hit that subscribe button. We are getting closer and closer and closer to 100,000 subscribers. I kept saying by Christmas, we have a realistic shot of hitting this by Thanksgiving. We have a few weeks to go till then. We're trying to get there. We're over 96,000 subscribers right now. We're pushing towards 97. We're getting there closer and closer each day, but we need your help. If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We have a ton of great content here between my videos here, NBA player props. What do I do here? I mean, college football picks, NFL weekly picks. We have H2H with me and Ev. We have so much stuff between Ev and Trey and myself. So much stuff. And the best part is, guys, all the picks we hand out here on the Guy Boston Sports YouTube channel are 100% free. So if you aren't already, please go ahead and subscribe down below. We'll be back tomorrow with another NBA player prop video. But until then, guys, hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Monday. Let's start the week off strong.